So we're now going to look at the invoice settings. So in here is where you can do all the settings for your invoices. So I'm just going to go to the default settings first. In here you can pop in what your default settings are. So the default of when you are going to pay your bills. Which generally I would leave out unless all your suppliers are the same, because otherwise you're going to have to change them for each of your suppliers. But this one specifically, your default payment terms for your sales invoices. So when do you want your clients to pay you, your customers to pay you? The standard is 30 days. I personally use 7 days, but it's entirely up to you. Some companies are the first of the following month. Some are so many days after the end of the invoice month or the current month. You've got some options here to choose. So set up what your default is. It can be overridden. So if you've got special terms with a couple of your clients, then that can be overridden. But just set up here your default so you don't have to type that in manually every time. So I'm going to pop in 7 days after the invoice date. And then you can add in your auto sequencing for your numbers. So if you've already been raising invoices, what you would do here is you would pop in the next invoice number in your sequence you're already using. So you'd come in here and just change this to be whichever the next one is. If you're starting off from scratch, then you can just literally put in number 1 or however you want to do it. Some people like putting in different things. You've also got your prefix, so this will always be the same, and then the number will just change. And the way it works on invoicing is credit notes and the invoices will use the same number sequence. So your credit notes, so say your invoices are 1, 2, 3, and then you need to raise credit note, the credit note before, and then back to invoices 5, 6, and so on. Some people do like to put in the year. I would suggest, however, you don't. It's not necessary. It's just an old school thing that a lot of people do. You just need to remember to set a reminder on the 1st of January every year to change that. You may have specific other letters or something you want to use as well. But just remember these bits, the invoice prefix and the credit note prefix will be the same for everything, and it's just the number that changes. You've then also got your purchase order prefix and your quote prefix, same pretext. If you've used them before, then put what your next one is. If not, then just start from 1. You can also include a link on the online invoices. So when you send an invoice out, they can view it as a PDF attachment, but there's also a link in there where they can go on and look at it online. And that's where, from one of the earlier setup things, if it's an online invoice, they can then see the social links, all the information you populated beforehand. And that's using the online invoice is how you use the payment services to get paid as well. So I think it's quite handy to include a link of online invoices so your customer then can see all the invoices outstanding, not just the one you're sending them at that specific point. You've also got here a quote expiry date. And again, I would suggest putting something in because your quotes should have an expiry date. They shouldn't be open-ended. At Pink Pig, we give 30 days for all of our proposals. After that, they expire and we need to reprice. This is really specific as well if you're in construction, because obviously the fluctuation in materials, your quote can be out of date pretty quickly. So depending on your industry and the fluctuation of your costs and everything will depend on what you want to use here as your default expiry date. Again, it can be overwritten, but I would recommend putting something in. Construction, short number, maybe 7 days. Everything else, if you're happy with a 30 day, then that's fine. And it's similar to before, you just pop in. So I'm going to put 30 because that's the Pink Pig way. 30 days after the quote date. So go in there and tick off all of your default settings. And again, I'm going to hide this, but this is here, so you can go in and have a read through some more information if you would like to. But I'm just going to go through all of this anyway with you. So you've got what we call branding themes in Xero, which means that you can have different types of wording or logos used for different parts of your business. So, for example, if you've got a different brand within your business, or a specific product that's all branded and everything, and you want to have that brand on your invoice, the logo, when you send it out, you can have that. You could also use it for different types of payment services. Now, this is what we've got as well, is we've got different types of payment services. So most of our clients run direct debit. So we've got a direct debit template, and we've got a standard non-direct debit template. You can also, in these templates, use different wordings and things. So obviously when we send out the direct debit invoices, we put on there, this will be collected by direct debit, you don't need to do anything, and all our other standard terms and conditions. On the standard invoice though, they need to pay it. So it says, please make payment, and then we list the details for the payments. So it's different wording can be used on different templates. So depending on your business, you may have different reasons why you'd like to send out a slightly different looking invoice or slightly different wording. And this is where you do it all, so you can have different ones. So they've got a couple of different examples here in the demo company. In your one, you'll just have the option for standard, which you can then change. You've also, if you're very clever with technology, which I'm not, you can also use docx to do you can use a template and you can do your own template. If that makes sense. So you can download a template to change it to how you want it to be, so it doesn't look like the standard Xero ones, and then you can re-upload it as well. Now this, you can use this. There's people on Fiverr that will do all this for you if you want some very specific things on your invoices and the Xero standard ones don't work out for you, or they don't fit what you're trying to do. So if that is something you're interested in doing, I'd say start off with these ones. But if you do down the line think, actually, no, it's not going to work, or you know straight away it's not going to work, then you can use this, and you can either try and do it yourself, or you can, as I said, use somebody on Fiverr to do this for you. There's quite a few people out there that I've seen that actually do this. So if you want to change it all, you can use these options up here. So you can change the logo, so you can pop that on, and you can copy it as a basis. Once you've got it how you want it, you just want to change it slightly, and then obviously edit is to edit. So in here you can come in, you can change what is called, you can play around with all of this, but ideally this pretty much doesn't really need changing. You can change the font if the font, if your brand font is one of these, you can use that. Or you can just leave it as it is, and again you can change the size. I'd probably leave all these alone because they're the standard wording for those types of documents. And then you can play around with it over on this side. So you do need to show your tax number. This will be your company number when you're a limited company. Column headings, I would agree with. If you do have inventory and you use specific item codes, and you can choose to show them on your invoices or not. Whether you choose to show them on your invoices or not, when you raise the invoice, you can still use the item codes to raise the invoice. It just won't be shown actually on the paper bit that goes to the client. You've got the unit price and quantity. Old school, so if you send out your invoices and expect checks to be sent to you, you can do a cutaway payment advice slip at the bottom. Tax column, which is really important if you are VAT registered. If you're not VAT registered, you don't have to show it. If you're a limited company, you do have to show your registered address, but as a sole trader, you don't have to, so you can tick that off. Show your logo. I don't know why anyone wouldn't, but there you go. You can include to show or hide a discount. and you can show a contact account number if you want to, if you use account numbers for your customers. Entirely up to you. You can then change all of this. Generally, I would leave it alone unless you very specifically want to see something in your industry. It's standard to see it in a different way, but otherwise I would leave it as it is. And you can also, once you've got the payment services set up, you can also then add in your payment service details. We will do payment services in another section, so don't stress about that right now. You can choose where you want your logo to be shown, left, centre or right. And you can choose how to show the VAT, if it's inclusive of that or exclusive of that. So what I would recommend is if you're selling to other businesses, then you need to show it's exclusive. If you are selling to the general public, then generally they're probably not that bothered about that because they're not going to be claiming it back or anything. So you can put it to inclusive. But again, depends on who your client base is as to which one, and it will always default to exclusive. And especially if you're business to business, then you need to leave that as it is. Obviously, if you're not VAT registered, it's irrelevant, so don't worry about it. You can then also adjust the contact details that you want to see at the top of your invoice before you send. You've then got down here your terms and payment advice, so you can pop your details in then how they want to pay you. So this is where you'd use put in your account details if you want them to pay you by bank transfer. You can also pop things in there like we've got on ours about interest and late payment fees. So you can add in a little blurb about that if you'd like to, or any specific terms or payment details that you want to be included. And it says here that this will all be shown on the invoice and statement. So this text here will go in your invoices when you send them out, as well as your statements. And then you can do the same for your quotes as well. You can pop that in there. To have a look and see if you like it, you can come back to options and click on preview, and you can see how it will look both as an online invoice, sorry, on the computer and on a mobile, so you can see what it will look like. So you can play around with it, see how you want it. So again, if you wanted to do a different one, you can put a different division, for example. If you've got different offices, you may want to have different templates for different offices if you're a multi-office. There's loads of different reasons you may want to have different templates. So be creative and explore and do. So that's the invoice settings, and I'll cover both payment settings and invoice reminders in a separate video.